has the perfect storm of desperation. An opportunity finally arrived to make the most explosive trade in recent Falcons history. Picture this scenario: Tyreek Hill in a red and black uniform, terrorizing NFC South secondaries twice a year. Wow. Giving Michael Penix Jr. the kind of game-breaking weapon that turns good quarterbacks into great ones overnight. Mo Monon from Bleacher Report just floated an idea so audacious, so potentially franchise-altering, that it has me questioning everything I thought I knew about what this front office is willing to do to win. The proposal: trade Darnell Mooney and a third-round pick to Miami for Tyreek Hill, arguably the most dangerous receiver in the NFL and a player who could single-handedly transform our entire offensive identity. Let's be real about where we stand right now. We've got Michael Penix Jr. entering his first full season as a starter, and while the talent around him looks impressive on paper, there are legitimate questions about whether this group has enough firepower to compete with the elite offenses. In the NFC, Drake London is developing nicely, Kyle Pitts remains maddeningly inconsistent, and Bijan Robinson is a legitimate star, but none of them strike fear into defensive coordinators the way a healthy Tyreek Hill does. Hill isn't just fast, though his self-proclaimed title as the fastest man in the world isn't far off. This is a 5-time All-Pro who has consistently produced at the highest level regardless of who's throwing him the ball. Whether it was Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes, or Tua Tagovailoa, Hill has found ways to create separation and make explosive plays that change the complexion of entire games. Think about what Hill would bring to this offense that we simply don't have right now. We're talking about a player who demands safety help over the top on every single snap, which would immediately open up everything else in our passing game. Drake London would see single coverage more often. Kyle Pitts would have more room to operate in the middle of the field, and Bijan Robinson would have even more space to work with, as defenses stretch themselves thin trying to account for Hill's speed. The timing of this potential move makes perfect sense from a competitive standpoint. The NFC South is absolutely wide open, with Tampa Bay coming off a division title but dealing with their own questions. Carolina still rebuilding, and New Orleans trying to figure out their identity post-Drew Brees. If there was ever a year to make a bold move and try to seize control of this division, 2025 might be it. From Miami's perspective, this trade could make sense too. The Dolphins have been dealing with their own offensive inconsistencies, and Hill's massive contract is starting to look like a burden rather than an asset. Trading him for a younger receiver in Mooney plus draft capital could help them retool, while getting younger and more financially flexible. But let's not ignore the elephant in the room. Tyreek Hill comes with baggage that extends far beyond his on-field production. There have been off-field incidents and character concerns throughout his career that would require serious vetting from our front office. In today's NFL, you can't just focus on what a player does between the lines. You have to consider the entire package and whether it fits your organizational culture. The financial implications are staggering too. Hill is still under contract through 2026 with a massive cap hit that would significantly impact our ability to address other needs. We'd essentially be betting everything on the idea that adding one elite receiver is worth the opportunity cost of not being able to improve other areas of the roster. Here's what excites me most about this hypothetical scenario: the impact on Michael Penix Jr.'s development. Young quarterbacks need weapons they can trust, players who can turn 50-50 balls into touchdowns and create explosive plays, even when the initial read isn't there. Hill has made a living out of turning routine crossing routes into 60-yard touchdowns, and that kind of game-breaking ability could mask some of the growing pains that come with a first-year starter. The speed element cannot be overstated. Our offense has lacked that true deep threat for years, the kind of player who forces defenses to respect the entire field and opens up everything else underneath. Hill wouldn't just be our deep threat, he'd be our security blanket, our red zone weapon, and our game changer all rolled into one devastating package. Imagine the possibilities in Arthur Smith's offensive system with a player like Hill. The jet sweeps, the screen passes, the deep comebacks. All of those concepts become exponentially more dangerous when you've got someone with Hill's acceleration and top-end speed executing them. We go from having a good offense to having a potentially elite one overnight. The comparison to Tampa Bay is particularly relevant here. The Buccaneers have consistently been able to put up points and control games because they have multiple weapons that demand respect. Adding Hill to a group that already includes London, Pitts, and Robinson would give us the same kind of depth. and versatility that championship offenses require. But there's also the risk factor to consider. Hill is 30 years old, which means we'd be trading for his decline years rather than his prime. Speed is often the first thing to go as players age, and there's no guarantee that the player we'd be getting is the same one who terrorized defenses in Kansas City and Miami. The draft capital cost is relatively modest. A third-round pick isn't nothing, but it's not franchise-altering either. The real question is whether Darnell Mooney plus that pick represents fair value for a player of Hill's caliber, even accounting for his age and contract situation. This is the kind of bold, win-now move that either launches you into contention or sets your franchise back for years. There's no middle ground when you're talking about trading for a player with Hill's talent and salary cap impact. The September 7th opener against Tampa Bay would take on an entirely different meaning with Hill in the lineup. Instead of wondering whether we have enough weapons to keep pace with the defending division champions, we'd be asking whether they have enough defensive backs to cover our receiving cores. This trade proposal represents everything that's exciting and terrifying about NFL roster construction. When you have a young quarterback on a rookie contract, you have a window to surround him with elite talent before you have to pay him market value. The question is whether you're willing to take the risk and make the kind of aggressive move that separates contenders from pretenders. What do you think, Falcons faithful? Is Tyreek Hill the missing piece that could finally get us back to the playoffs? Or would this trade be too risky given his age and contract situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and smash that like button if you think it's time for this franchise to stop playing it safe and start making the kind of moves that championship teams make. Sometimes you have to risk it all to win it all, and this might be our moment to find out what we're really made of.